Refuse and recycling contract. I did have an opportunity to speak with,
You missed one.
sorry, snowplow contract. I wanted to skip right over that and buy more trucks. Snowplow contract for the 2013 and 2014 snow season. We've got both Schaefer and Schaefer Snowplowing and Wolf Paving here in the audience today. We've got a couple of different options for salt storage. We can store salt at the county facility as well as at either one of the contractors' facilities. I think it would make it easy if the contractor had the ability to reload while they were here in the town rather than going out to either one of their facilities. That's an option for us. I wouldn't suggest we store all salt there, but split it between either a private yard and the county grounds and the leftovers here at our facility.
Quick question, we had a question from Mr. Wolf in regards to the salt. There was a difference in price that we had talked about. It would save us a couple of grand, $2 a ton. Do we have an answer on that? I was curious.
I'm a little unclear on the question on the salt.
The question was, we had questions with regards to the blue salt and the additives for anti-clumping. And the fact is that both Morton and North American put those same things in there. The blue is simply a dye, and either one would have been okay for us to purchase. And we did
did
in
all the
fact.
purchasing of the salt, so that was not in our control.
Jamie did get an email from him. I don't know if it was forwarded or not.
No, it wasn't, I didn't see it.
Okay.
We did not make the order, correct me?
No, we did.
We did.
We did.
We had to make it within 30 days.
Did we?
At the meeting, you guys stated that, with the concurrence from Wolf stating the difference, and he had an email, and I apologize if I didn't forward it, but he did confirm and just stated to use the lower price one, because they're
So we, all
the
right.
same.
Are we being asked simply to award based on the bid and the contract to be addressed separate, different day?
I'm sorry, what's your question?
Well, we've got bids here, and then we have a sample contract, which is the McGuanago contract. And I can see the bids, but I don't see that we have any specific contract. And I guess additionally, Wolf Paving, you guys put some numbers on the top right-hand corner of this submission of information. Is that relating to, and maybe you're not aware of what these numbers are, maybe we are?
Mr. Wolf, if you want to come on up for a moment. Yeah, what they are, the Wolf Paving entered in 4 different options for us. One was option number 1, which is an increase in price from over last year to $120 per hour for a dump truck, salter, and a wing. Number 2 was a lump sum contract. Which was up to 55 inches for all of the routes that they plowed last year. And that was $210,000. And the increase on that's a substantial increase over the labor that we paid them for last year, the truck time that we paid them for last year. But the conversation with Devin was that they would have substantially higher service amount. You'd be out here more often. more
Yeah, and
frequently
it also
than
covers
earlier.
more snow. So if there's more snow than last year, you're covered there too.
It gives us the opportunity to get out when we want to get out a little bit earlier, start spreading salt a little bit earlier. Because the town's not being charged by the hour, we can head out sooner rather than wait for that phone call when cars first start going in the ditch. There was some conserving of hours last year when we could have been out earlier, but because the town didn't want to spend the money, we were held back until the conditions, were bad enough for us to come out. In this scenario, we're allowed to get out a lot earlier. We can do some pre-salting, if we see a big storm coming, or just head out when the first snowflakes start coming down. So we thought we could increase our level of service substantially in this lump sum contract, which is what Quantico has gone to. I think that's why Devin gave you a copy of that contract.
Have you had an opportunity to sharpen your pencil at all on that lump sum?
I did. Actually, you've been dealing with Devin here, so I'm doing my best to, he just brought me up to speed here.
For those of you that don't know, this is Sean Wolf.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, and that 210 has been revised to 190. We also talked about an adjustment if you purchased some extra snowplow equipment and took over a route, we could reduce that amount for that lesser route. And that number, and this should be of interest to you because you could do a return on investment of the plow truck. If you took that route over with the additional trucks you bought, that number would come down to 170. So you can look at the purchase cost of your truck and the number of years you're going to get your payback just from the winter services it will provide for you.
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Wolf, I think the clarification that I'm looking for, and maybe I'm missing, I don't see it on the written proposal here, but I want to make absolutely certain you get clarity with which routes that would be. Is
Yes,
that-
I believe the route that the town talked about taking over was the route furthest to the east. I don't know the route numbers.
that we did last year, but you'd be doing all of the other routes then for that lump
We
sum?
would be doing, we did 5 routes last year, I believe. We did 5 routes last year, we'd be doing 4 routes this year. If you purchased additional equipment, we would be doing 4 routes.
But you'd be doing 5 for the $190,000, is 5
Yes,
routes?
all 5,
Okay.
same routes as last year, or same 5 routes for the 190.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
For clarification, Brian, Jamie's just gonna grab the map so that we're all on the
Yeah.
same page.
I think that's a good idea.
Then number 3 and number 4, what are those? I see they have lower rates on some.
Yeah, and Devin included an explanation at the bottom of both 3 and 4.
When,
Number 4, the timing starts at, is port to port. And then number 3,
adds back any trip charge.
yeah, back to where we were.
The trip charge goes up to $95, and the hourly fee for the dump trucks drop a little bit.
Question with the number 2 proposal, we were talking about the lump sum or fixed fee, if you will. What, and certainly I think this is something that needs to be in an agreement if we were to choose to do that. Where does the 55-inch annual snowfall get measured?
That's a very good question. I believe we could pick a mutual spot, whether it's the airport or, a National Weather Service spot.
Inside my garage, okay?
Yeah, I think the airport is where they measure here in Waukesha. Sorry.
You're talking about Waukesha County Airport.
Well, we could pick a spot in the town that is a certified spot to be measuring the snow. I think we should agree that it's an outside party that's doing the measuring.
Agreed.
Something akin to the Weather Service, the National Weather.
Fair enough. I mean, that would make sense to me, but I think that's something that would need, if we would look at doing this, I think that needs to be clarified.
Because I'm sure I could find a big snowdrift after the first snowstorm.
I'm sure you could.
Just for clarification, Mr. Wolf, this is the area of town that we took care of last year, and the other 5 routes and all the main roads are what you took care of, and that would be in your proposal for the bulk contract?
Yes.
Now,
number one, is the trip charges included in the 120, since it's not spelled out?
I believe once again, I apologize for not being fully up on these. I believe the 120, this refers to the same contract as we had last year. I believe
If
the
your
one-
number three has a trip charge,
Yep.
but it's
I
spelled
believe-
out, one doesn't spell it out, that's why I'm wondering.
Yep. So these charges will only apply while the contractor's equipment is being operated within the political boundaries of the town of Waukesha. That's what's spelled out in number one. So we would only be able to bill while we're within your borders.
Okay, so there wouldn't be a
no
trip charge,
No.
your hourly
Which
would
is why
start
our
once
rates
you hit
are
the
a little
border.
higher to help cover those trip charges, yeah.
Mr. Wolf, I can understand the $190,000 55-inch. But I'm looking at the numbers here and I'm thinking, okay, we've got a commitment of doggone near $100,000 worth of salt. And right out of the gate, at $190K, we're looking at almost a $300,000 salt, sand, whatever, removal, snow removal for this winter. No one can predict, there's no crystal ball out there, but that's a lot of money. And having said that, I cannot support that number two option that you would.
Okay. We were asked to provide several options, lump sum being one of them. So that's why there's four for you to choose from there.
All right, so I get the bids, I understand that. My next question is, what language, what contract, what arrangements are we simply being asked to evaluate a Schaefer bid, the Wolf series of bids, and Mr. Schaefer also has a series of bids that match the lump sum hourly? Is that all we're being asked to consider tonight, and we'll consider the language of a contract at another date?
I think we're looking to award a contract to one of the two vendors. And yes, we'll draw a contract and agree on a contract language upcoming. Because depending on which, it doesn't make any sense to have multiple contracts depending on which type of service we go with, a blanket contract or with
Okay,
other
we'll
fee.
spend a lot of money drawing up contracts to look at. I'd make a motion then to.
I got a question before.
Okay, go for it.
Can you tell me, Juno is the same liaison that we used last year and the same driver is gonna be doing the same routes?
You'll have the same point of contact.
Okay.
I do believe the drivers are gonna be the same, but I don't know. We retain our employees pretty regularly, but I can't promise that one of them may take.
But the majority of them will most
Yes,
likely be the
yes.
same drivers driving the route they drove
And
last
that's
year?
what we wanna do. We spent a lot of time last fall training them. They
Right.
came out and did a lot of dry runs. Our intent is that we're gonna be able to do this a lot better with all that practice, so yes, that's our intent.
So my motion would be to award the contract to Wolf Paving based on Exhibit A, number 1. And if I receive a second, I'll explain the reasoning of the math that I have behind choosing number 1.
I'll second. Discussion? Larry?
Yes. So under Exhibit A, number 1, base compensation, the dump truck with salt spreader is $120 an hour. If I heard you correct, that's a bill rate at our border and until our border.
Yes.
If we look at the other option, excluding number 2, because that's the bulk, and I think that's a risk that we won't wanna, I wouldn't wanna participate in. So if we flip over to number three is $115 an hour. But that would then have a charge of $95 for a trip charge, so your guys are getting your truck loaded and coming here. If I do the math, we have a $5 hourly rate difference versus a one-time fee of $95. I think we're better off paying the $5 more and not incurring the $95 fee, because if you take $5 and you divide it by 95, you basically got, what, 18, 19 hours of time for him to get here. I think it's just a better shakeout for us. And the same kind of math applies to number four. We'd be paying $110 an hour. It might take them, if he's waiting for loading up, it might take them a half hour, 40 minutes to load and get here.
Quick question, Supervisor Vansky, would you just clarify once more what your understanding of number one is in terms of any kind of a trip charge? Would you just run through that one more time, please, what your understanding of it is?
My understanding would be that there isn't one, that we are literally paying $120 an hour from the time the truck enters the town of Waukesha border, and only during the time at which the GPS has that truck within the town of Waukesha border.
Mr. Wolf, accurate?
Yes, and that's,
Okay.
in highlight right there, right below the fees, it says these charges will only apply while the contractor's equipment is being operated within the borders.
And there is no other,
There's no other fee, so when they load their truck in Oconomowoc or Madison, whatever, while they're driving here,
It takes
they're
up
not
the-
on our nickel, they're on their nickel.
okay,
Mr. Wolf, about how many hours, do you know how many hours you billed the town of Waukesha for snow plowing last year?
I don't have the hour figure, but I believe the dollar amount was around 110,000.
And how many, how much per hour were you last year?
I might have those hours.
was it
95
plus the $50?
plus the $50 trip charge, everything.
Yeah.
I think it'd be prudent that we do not leave Mr. Schaefer out of this conversation.
I got concerned then
Come,
with the.
come on up to the mic, Mr. Schaefer.
I do have the hours too here, I believe.
How many?
1,400 labor hours. That's what my job
My concern is with the loading of the salt, so he's gonna not charge the town the loader time and the storage time of the salt or anything at his facility if he's storing it there then.
That would be accurate.
Okay. So he's saying that you're gonna pay $120 an hour versus my bid of $95 an hour for the same work. So you're different to $25 per hour. You're concerned about budget and consider everything else down the line, so you're talking probably $20,000 to $40,000 difference, one contract to the other. Depending on the hours, amount of hours, you take 1,400 hours times $25.
Mr. Schaefer, Wolf has GPSs in their trucks. We certainly can monitor the time in, time out. And I don't believe you have that in your truck, sir. This is very valuable for us. We've been shooting for this for years, and now we have a system of checks and balances where it's worked out real well for us, well for the town.
Because you're getting loaded at the county, you got time locked in when you're getting loaded at the county with the salt.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
It said you're concerned about the time, so when you get loaded at the county with your salt, you have a locked-in time, the start time right there.
The county was not involved last year, sir.
Yeah, but this year you are, so you're.
What?
Perhaps.
That's not altogether true. We're not involved with the county this year.
Okay, that's not what I read in the bid here proposal. You're not getting the salt at the county shop then.
That hasn't been, we haven't decided on it yet.
concerned about your salt, or whatever, $2 a ton, saving $2 a ton salt, well, figure 1,400 hours times 25 bucks an hour. Big difference there.
The only difference I can see, maybe a little bit, is with Wolf doing it last year, have to believe somebody doing it brand new, it's gonna take them longer hours than somebody that's got it established and the routes established. I'm not saying a ton, but there's gotta be some learning curve to it.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but Sean just said or whatever, he wasn't 100% guaranteed that he'd have the same drivers back.
For my liking, Mr. Schaefer, I've been through this rodeo with a different contractor who had little to no municipal road experience of any
33 years,
recency.
33 years, whatever,
He-
I mean, I
he
don't know
had-
what
I didn't-
conditions and what
I didn't
how the
say that.
service is, snowstorm.
I didn't say that, I said the prior contractor had little to no municipal road experience. And it was a fiasco. It was awful. Our phones rang off the hook, residents were furious. And it got a little better by the end of the year, but it wasn't much better.
That's that contractor, that's
I
not me.
understand that,
I am.
and that's why,
thorough.
and I'm just giving you a view from where I'm coming from and the residents on why would I say if we look at his hour calculation of $1,400, why do I say that contract, that I should look at the residents in this room and say, yes, I agreed to pay $35,000 more based on the 1,400 hours between these hourly rates. And the issue for me is that I don't want to have a situation where we have all of those problems and we have all of those phone calls. We had transplant patient, I mean, I could sit here for hours and tell you all the phone call stories we had. And what happened last year worked seamlessly. We had next to no complaints. We actually had compliments from it. And when you look at what you pay for service and what you get, sometimes if something works, it may be worth more money to you to stay with that than it is to say, hey, I might be able to save $35,000. But there's also a risk that we may not have that service because it's unknown. This is known to me, this worked, and I find personally, my vote is that I find value in the fact that it worked. It's set in place. We don't have to recreate the wheel, pay attention to any of those details. We have the same manager coming back, which worked well with our DPW. They worked very well to help each other out last year. And that's really where my decision's coming from. It's not, your math is undeniable. So there has to be some other reason that I'm making that choice. And sure, it's got a little bit to do about the salt weight tickets. It's got to do with the GPS, which creates incredible accountability for when was he here and when was he not here. And if there's ever a question, those details are clear as day.
So I put GPS in, and what you could say, you would consider my contract.
Well, I don't have that today, based on what I have today in front of me and what my experience has been with past contractors and current contractor. That's where my support comes. I'm just trying to explain myself to you and to the residents, because I think that explanation is warranted. People in the town should know, why did Joe not only support but make the motion to pay somebody more when potentially the service could have been provided at equal service levels for a lower price. Again, I'm just not willing to take that risk.
And Mr. Schaefer, I think I want to make something clear. Supervisor Vansky is not impugning your ability
Not
whatsoever.
at
It's
all.
purely based on his past experiences that he has a bad taste in your mouth.
It was awful.
Okay, so, and I wanted to make that very clear. Nobody's impugning your ability.
Well, not that contract or whatever, I never
I hear
was,
you.
never will be. So,
You're-
I'm thorough, I've been here for 33 plus years or whatever, so I mean, just like I'm new on the street. So,
I hear you loud and clear. It was a very tough decision.
I got the equipment,
think
I
it's
can
the
handle
right
it,
one.
and I make promises. what I hear.
Thank you.
Okay.
Joe, I think it would be wise to take a close look at the math. If on 48 inches of snow last year, would that be accurate, Mr. Wolf? 48 inches of snow, and in many cases, according to Devin, they did not come out as, when they would have normally. They were short time here, would have gotten out here earlier, a higher level of service. On 48 inches of snow, you could imagine that it would probably have been more than 1,400 hours. At 1,400 hours times $120 an hour. We're already at, nearly 170,000. And if we get a little bit more snow, we are bumping into a scenario where we could have better service and
I think it's for my liking, the contract that McGuanago went into was an incredible gamble. To say that we'll guarantee a payment of $210,000 to steal Brian's line. Heck, we didn't even have winter one year, right? And last year, we didn't have much snow, so if we base last year on this year, you would say, well, okay, well, based on this 200, what's the new number?
190
So on the 190.
down to 170,
number,
depending on your.
you know, you can argue that you're clipping along at about the same pace, and I'll rely on the residents who, the year before, were more than willing to call and scream and complain. I mean, it just didn't happen last year. We didn't get those complaints.
Mr. Bansky.
I hear Jamie wants to, I didn't see him come through. I saw compliments come through.
I, for one, do not want to be the person telling whoever our snow removal contractor is not to come out when they think that they should be out on the roads already. And if they're gonna be doing that, and we don't have the level of service that they would be affording us, if we had a blanket contract and we keep them off the roads, we're gonna get the same number of complaints
The
that
blanket.
we had last year.
The blanket service, and this is not a slight to your company, the blanket service is, in my opinion, anti-good service. If I tell you that I'm going to give you a fixed dollar amount of $190,000, and you want to run a profit margin, you are possibly going to manage the level of service based on how many hours you anticipate having. So if you say it's 55 inches and we start getting pounded right away at the beginning of the year, towards the middle of the year, if that number is fast approaching, where your cost of the operation is approaching what the 55-inch contract affords you, the $190,000, are you gonna be Johnny on the spot to get out and lose 10 grand that year? Or are you going to, hey, maybe we can pull the horses in a little bit and not run out there? And again, I'm not alleging or assuming that you would act or your company would act in that way. But I think whenever you have, in my personal opinion, when I have a fee-for-service contract, if I want the service, I pay the fee. And if we don't need the service, I pay the fee. I think last year, the comments I heard come out of McGuanago was that their contract didn't work out real well for them. I mean, they spent a fortune and hardly had snow, and it wasn't viewed as a financial success from the feedback I got. So I'm not interested in that bulk contract at all.
And my only comment to that would be, as a contractor, in your backyard, that's been here for 72 years. We pride ourselves on the quality of our service, and the fact that we count on being around here for another 70 years. Our main goal is customer service. That's what we sell, that's what we do. We're not gonna cut our level of customer service to make a little more profit because you don't stay in business for 72 years by doing that.
Period. Last year, Devin, at the first meeting, Devin pointed out this year that last year he actually operated at a net loss.
We did, we lost money last year.
And it unlikely that you stay in business for 72 years operating in that way. So, you know, I agree you provided great service. I just don't see that putting you in a position to make a determination of should you be out, or is it, you know, crunching your budget line. I don't think you'd make that choice personally, but I don't think we should.
And I'm not gonna argue for any one of these choices, that's for the board to decide, that's why the options were presented, so.
Just for clarification, Joe, the 11 to 12 snow season, we had 123 complaints.
Maybe it seemed so little because the year before was so high.
No, that was the year before. 123 was 11 to 12. Last year was 102, and there were 6 compliments. So just to clarify, that's neither here nor there. From my perspective, I would appreciate I do not want to be the person telling them not to come out when they think they should be out here. They're the professionals, they know when they should be out, and if we're going to get a higher level of service.
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, if we could maybe dig just a little bit deeper on that for understanding, and part of the backdrop of this is where we have been in years past. I know part of the language we used in the contract, I think had about 6 different 4 or 5 or 6 levels of response. And on some of that, I know at least 2 years ago, we kind of indicated that the town was going to decide when to respond and the level of response. And I know you did part of that, and I think Supervisor Bansky and Chairwoman Van Sock. I'm not even quite sure what happened last year, and maybe that's beside the point, but if we would look at the number 1 proposal here, which is basically just hourly based, what is our vision? What goes into the contractor? What is our vision as to when, if it is Wolf that we pick, when, or whoever it is, if it's Mr. Schaefer or Mr. Wolf, when they would respond, who would be responsible deciding when they would mobilize and when they would respond? What's the vision of that? Because I think we need clarity on
that. Last year was a very, very good working relationship with our DPW supervisor, Jerry. And he has very good communication with Mark. I believe Mark was your lead man. And based on the fact that Jerry lives here in the town and obviously sees what's going on, with that communication, the plows were brought out in a timely manner. And I find no fault in what happened last year. It went very well, in my opinion. I would like to see that level maintained.
Mike, I got 2 things to say. Number 1, your snowplow contractor disagrees with you. Number 2, you were in Texas. How would you know if it went well?
We get weather reports. I have communication with people. Thank you.
Are you suggesting that if we do this, that the responsibility should fall to Jerry as to when to tell Wolf to get to work if it ends up being Wolf? Is that what you're suggesting? I'm interested in what we're doing going forward more than what we did last year.
My thought on that is that that Jerry was the primary contact, the chairman was a secondary contact, and the reason that, in my opinion, the reason that I supported that action is Jerry's on the roads. The chairman is the call point for the sheriff's office. If there is an incident on the road or a slippery spot that was identified, those calls went to the chair, they don't come to the supervisors, and that enabled this, whether, I don't know if Angie then called Jerry and Jerry ran out there, I don't know if Jerry then called you, but that entire dialogue happened, I'd say 90% of the time between Jerry and Wolf, and that was one of the functions of the regular DPW staff meetings was, he'd give us debriefs right on.
Maybe we could ask Mr. Wolf, do you know who you got direct? I know you were saying you weren't called on a timely manner. Do Do you know did you routinely get direction from somebody in
From
the town?
Jerry
last year?
or sometimes from the sheriff. Being as we were hired by the hour to work for the town, we're not allowed to decide how many hours we work for the town. That's why the lump sum contract would allow us to come out whenever we want, earlier. If you hire us by the hour and then leave the hours we work up to us, we're gonna be sitting here in a lot of trouble at the end of the winter, so.
Yeah, and I wouldn't support saying, oh, here's a by hour and just come when you want.
Yeah.
The process last year was, there were times that Jerry and Scott went out and pre-salted the town, and that saves us a significant amount of money to have their hourly wage on our clock instead of your hourly rate on our clock.
And quite honestly, there was a lot of times where we would have Mark, our supervisor, out here driving the roads as it started to snow, not on the clock. Part of the reason we lost money is we were out here monitoring the roads also, trying to stay in contact to see when we could get them out here. So we did a lot of monitoring.
How, can you tell us from a point in time in which somebody says it's time to go out, how long does it take you to get into the town? What's the response time?
It can take almost an hour or a little more than an hour. You figure those employees have to get a phone call at home, have to throw their clothes on, pack a lunch, pack a snack, hop in their car, drive to work, give their truck a warm up, a few minutes to warm up, load it with salt and get to the town. So that can take an hour or sometimes even more. If the weather's bad, it can take the employees longer to get to work. We try and have them on standby, but they're on standby at home because we can't pay them to stand by at our shop too.
Will Mark be patrolling the roads this year again?
Yeah, our intention is to do it the same way, hopefully improve service a little bit more.
Well, it appears that we're gonna be heading towards an hourly contract, so I guess the bottom line is, moving forward, how do you wanna proceed with this?
My motion is to support number one bid, which is the $120 an hour rate. If we just use the first line dump truck box spreader as the identifier, number one.
Right.
Which would include being billed only when they're in town.
And who's making that determination? Are we leaving that in Jerry's lap?
I think that is, if you wanted to clarify that tonight, I would support what happened last year based on that process, that Jerry and Mark made determinations. The town board, Jerry is accountable to the town board. So if we are receiving complaints that aren't satisfactory, then we need to talk to Jerry and our vendor and say, hey, the level of service is not satisfactory, and you can ratchet up that level of service. If it is satisfactory, then we can scale where we are and be fine. And again, the emergency contact or the backup contact to Jerry was the chair. And it was, again, from my seat, that seemed the right way to go because of the relation between the sheriff's deputy and the call to the chair. Prior year I did it, but I would get a call from Angie who would say that the sheriff just called her, and then I'd call Jerry and say, hey, go out, road A is slow.
I would support that, Joe, with a second, but I would add something, if you will. I would like to see the issue with how the salt will be handled. In respect to last year, it wasn't broke, and I don't see a reason why to fix it. Jamie's staff in the office was very, very good about time tickets, ordering salt, the whole works. Mr. Wolf, his company was very good about supplying us with weight tickets. The flow of paper, the check and double check system worked absolutely great. And I would like to add to your motion that we resolve that salt issue tonight also.
Well, I think you're absolutely correct. If we're gonna pay a flat fee of $120 an hour, not portal to portal, but rather just when it hits town borders, there's no reason to store it anyplace other than their facility, in the Wolf facility.
Here and just like we did
Right.
last year. Yep. I would agree with that. I mean, we're not taking up a sole contract with the county at this time. But I would see no reason to embark on that based on that number.
So Joe, do you accept his amendment to your motion then? Of
I
all
don't-
salt to be stored at,
Sure, all salt to be stored at Wolf and at the town of Waukesha Town Hall.
Based on last year.
yes, please read that.
Easy on Gene.
All right, the motion is Supervisor Bransky moved to approve the Wolf bid Exhibit A, number 1, subject to DPW employee Jerry Noli to be the contact person with Wolf Paving and the salt to be stored at the town hall and Wolf Paving.
Any further discussion?
And we might add at that point too, Jamie, for clarity, basically exact same last year. You don't need that.
You don't need that.
Am I correct in understanding that implied in your motion is the intent to use the same contract as was used last year except for the changes in the numbers?
Yes. With the exception that last year, we threw out all of that level of service, the hierarchy piece.
You can, could they, it was not.
Okay,
Just so you
formally,
know.
we may not have
You
formally
may
done it,
want to
but we
remove the
practically
policy,
threw
whatever
that
that
out.
thing is, that's, I can make a, add it to the motion to utilize the same contract withdrawing the
Withdrawing the
policy.
policy and procedure, service level stuff that didn't work. I wrote it, didn't work.
Removing the town of Waukesha's winter road maintenance policies and procedures. I can read it down one moment.
Are you gonna wanna come back and have a contract to review, for the board to review then? Is that your intent, or do you wanna, are you comfortable with the verbiage that she
I'm
just?
just comfortable with
Okay.
that verbiage.
Question. Since I wasn't involved in the final draft of that contract, is there a provision in there that reflects the contact being between the Public Works employee and the supervisor?
That was in the policies and procedure that they're withdrawing. So it would need to be built into the original contract.
So why don't we bring the contract back?
Yeah, I think that would be the best thing.
So then, for clarification, this is for the awarding of a contract, and we're going to bring the contract language back to the board, and make sure that it's acceptable to both the board and Wolf Paving.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that the motion be couched in terms of awarding the contract to Wolf Paving, incorporating proposal 1 on Exhibit A, subject to mutual agreement by the contractor and the town of the form of the final contract.
I'll accept that as my final motion.
Mike?
I'll second that, yes.
It would actually be Mr. Wolf.
Oh, I'm sorry,
You had the
I thought
second.
Mike had the second.
No.
I had.
No, Mike did.
Mike had the second.
Oh, then I apologize. Sure. All right. Motion from Supervisor Bansky, move to award the contract to Wolf, bid Exhibit A, number 1, subject to the DPW employee Jerry Nolly to be the contact person with Wolf Paving, and salt to be stored at the town hall and Wolf Paving, and to utilize the same contract as last year, withdrawing the winter road maintenance policies and procedures, subject to the contract in its final form to be brought back to the next town board meeting, October 10, 2013.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything further?
Supervisor Bansky,
Yes.
Supervisor Fisher,
Yes.
Supervisor Laska,
Yes.
Supervisor Wolf,
Yes.
Chairman Merrick.
No.
Motion approved.
On to